I still don't know why we do this.
Well, I know why I've done my one. That's my tiger. It's my tiger pose. I'm a crouching tiger
Yeah, got it.
with hidden.
Yeah. So I'm ninja then.
Well,
And I was
you were
hiding for a minute.
pretending, yes.
That's what peekaboo, Ian. That's peekaboo.
Right,
Hidden.
I haven't done my thing. Right,
You haven't.
welcome,
Do your
welcome
thing.
to this version of Audits of Duty Driving Instructor Trainers. This session is all about that phrase, coaching tiger, hidden learning. Thinking about that, I know. It was I don't know who came up with that, but it was
No
quite
idea.
Wasn't
no
me.
idea. Thanks, Sarah. Anyway, it was you, and then I added the learning word. It was you. It was you, Terry. Sorry,
Never get.
you got your credit.
No.
I wanted to get Sarah in there. So now you've got an itchy ear, Ian.
Yes.
Can you? Because I think you may have found a couple of definitions. Would you mind telling us?
Oh, funny you should ask that. It's like we rehearsed this bit.
No one's going to believe you, Ian.
Only that bit.
Yeah, I looked up a couple of definitions, taking the lead off Fiona last week. So if we start with instruction can be defined as detailed information about how something should be done. Coaching is a process that enables clients to build their capabilities so they can achieve their goals.
Love that. So what I heard was instruction.
Blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, sorry.
I know, yeah. Well, what I remember is that, and certain vowel sounds like coaching.
Coaching, man. No way.
But
I can do that, you know.
yeah, or just not turn up. So instruction is what I heard was detailed information how something should be done. And coaching was blah 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 about how something can, but it was about getting it out, information out rather than putting it in.
Yes, I agree. I think it's the detailed information as well that is incorrect, in my opinion, because there's loads of ways to drive safely, and you can't detail them all.
It's always different, isn't it? There's always a difference. Yeah.
So I think it kind of ties itself up a bit. The instruction definition.
Yeah.
It doesn't apply itself to what we do because there's so many different ways of doing it.
Agreed. Terry?
Yes, sorry.
Do you support? Do you want to add anything?
Well, Ian, you said you had two definitions.
I did.
What's the other one?
Well, the definition of coaching is a process that enables clients to build their capabilities so that they can achieve their goals.
I've just realised. I thought you had like two of each.
Oh, good God, no, that would take real work and planning.
Oh, I see. Right, sorry. Okay, I was waiting for the second one. Sorry.
What were you that you researched, Terry?
What? I didn't hear the question.
Would you like to read out the ones that you researched, the definitions that you researched?
Yes, I researched. My last search was, are Curly Whirlies still available in the UK?
I think the answer is yes. And
Yes,
actually, your last search was for the tennis player and the ball.
If you're watching this, just search up tennis ball boy hits wall on YouTube. Oh my God, it's so funny. Yes. What was the original question? Sorry, I'll pay attention now. What?
I've got a really good description, because unless you really wanted a question, Terry. No, I was just winding you up about you didn't do the research that Ian did.
Sorry, miss.
The best 45 seconds of my life, that research.
I thought you were going to say something else then. My response was going to be, what, you did it 3 times?
The thing is, we see the value. We see the value because we've been there, and we used to do the one thing, and now we do another thing. So we can see the value and the crossover. Other people don't seem to have the same experience. Terry, what are the experiences that you've had? Because I understand you recently did a thing with some ADIs about what coaching is or isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to a local association and they kindly invited me along. I did it before and they kindly invited me again. I had a little presentation on what coaching is and what it isn't and what the common misconceptions are about coaching. And you could just tell by the response in the room that a lot of it was, what? What? No. And I tell you a funny story. 3 of my PDIs were there, who've had me from the start. So we talk about this in their training and stuff. And I've seen each of them since the presentation last week, and each of them said, "Oh my God, how do they?" It makes us. Each of them said this in their own way. It makes me feel so much better to know that I get this, and all the other people who've been doing it in the room, they don't know what it means. It's like, how come they don't understand what it is, and how old-fashioned are they? Or words to that effect. It's like it makes them feel better knowing that they're up with these modern techniques and everyone else in the room, or most other people in the room, just can tell by the questions that they didn't get it. It's all new to them. Like, how is this possible? And I went on another subject about the industry, but anyway, but that was generally the response from the PDIs who've been trained that way. They didn't understand how so many other people in the room don't get it, and how are they not qualified, but what kind of job are they doing? It was just funny to get that each separately had the same feedback about the presentation.
Yeah. So then what are the differences?
Well, I think if we look at some myths first, it would be helpful.
Good.
Because there's so many myths out there, and the problem with obviously social media is it could be a great tool, but it can also, as we know, be the font of all misinformation.
Absolutely.
So let's bust one myth at a time. Let's go with your favourite one, Fiona. I'm asking questions, so I must be coaching.
Well, that's all it is, isn't it? It's just asking questions.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Go on, bust that one then first. That's your favourite. Why is that not coaching?
Ian. I'm just not hogging it, Ian.
Why is it not coaching? Well, how does asking questions? It depends on the type of questions you're asking, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's the type of questions when you're asking them. Are you asking questions to get the answer you want? Yes or no?
Always. Yeah, but if it's about questions, it can't just be about questions, because to ask a good question, you've got to have heard what the people said previously. Because if the question doesn't relate to what you've heard, there's no point in asking it. Because we are then just asking questions that we want to know the answer to.
I think when you're coaching, you're asking questions because you're curious and you're interested in what they think and feel, not because you want to prove a point or,
Sometimes when I've sat in the back of a car, I've been uncomfortable because the questions seem to be a form of manipulation.
Yes.
I'm trying to ask you questions so that you tell me what I want to hear, which is what I used to give you in a briefing.
And maybe still have.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there is a place for leading questions and embedded command questions and stuff like that. But again, it's the reason behind the question.
The reason behind the question, absolutely. Yeah, the asking questions thing, I do find that quite frustrating, because I've been told it. I ask loads of questions, therefore I'm coaching, and it's where people. The other thing that I find frustrating is where people say, well, it's just the same thing. It's just they've called it something else. It's the same thing. We're still helping people to drive. They're just calling it something else because it's PC, or I don't really understand the framework from it. I suppose because, again, we understand in a deeper way than some people where this stuff came from. So the coaching is all about the listening. You can't ask those questions that you guys are alluding to. You can't ask those brilliant questions without having listened to what they said before. So the active listening. And if you don't listen, you can't ask it. But it's all about the different types of learning. Where's he going?
He's had enough.
He's had enough. He's gone to get something.
Or he's dropped his drink, one of the two.
No, I just looking at me framing, and I'm noticing a look like a Sith Lord, because this is like light and this is dark, and I turned the lights on. Now there's light from both sides.
So you've
That's
seen
all.
the light. Hallelujah!
God.
He saw the light years ago. It's why he's a fan of coaching.
I knew. I'd
Hey,
set it
boom,
up. I knew
boom.
you'd knock it out the park.
Hey, boom, boom.
So it's about the deeper listening. It's about respecting the person. And I don't feel that that hierarchical method, I don't think it addresses learning at all. I think learning's very different.
It's like Ian's definition, isn't it? It's not a transfer of knowledge. It's a road to discovery.
The experts talk about 3 types of learning: non-learning, rote learning, and meaningful learning, which I may have also looked up at some point. Those 3 types of learning, and we do a lot of rote learning in but it's just, MSPSL and those kind of things that we've spoken about. But the briefing thing, I'm going to teach you how to do a turn in the road. So what I need you to do, I need you to put the clutch down, put it into first, set the gas, find the biting point. Then I'd like you to start with your left-hand mirror, check your left mirror, centre mirror, right-hand mirror. Then I'd like you to do an over-the-shoulder blind spot check. Then I'd like you to release the handbrake using clutch control. I'd like you to move the car slowly to the centre of the road, doing full lock. As you get to the centre of the road, you're going to get to the top of the camber. Then I'd like you to look to the left and the right to make sure no one's coming. As you go over the... Blah, 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 blah.
It's like you've done it a few times. What was the first thing you said? I can't remember what the first thing was. I do what?
The first thing was I asked Ian what were the definitions that he'd looked up.
I kill you.
I have, but that's how I used to.
That's how we all used to do it, Fiona.
God, but I cringe.
But that's detailed information about what they should do.
It is.
And that's why it's not the right means to the end product, is it?
No, and it isn't that we don't. We need to know that. We need to know that detailed information, and in a way, it might be useful to be able to deliver it. Anyway, we need to know stuff so that we can be sure that.
So we know what to not teach.
Well, yes. So that we can ensure that they've given us that information when they...
Or that they discover that themselves.
Yeah.
You know what? I also think that a lot of do you remember when we first started doing all this coaching stuff and we started trying to get the word out there, how much resistance there was from the industry? Gotten a lot better since. But I think that thinking back to those days, comes down to why you're in this job. I mean, I get the apart from the financial stuff like that. If you're doing this job because you believe that people pay you to get them through the test, and I'll attempt to teach safe driving for life, that DVSA mantra. Then you will do a job similar to mum and dad. Skills, get from A to B safely, blah blah, lower levels, all that stuff for GDE. But I think if you're in this industry because you want to have a positive effect on road safety and have a positive effect on the ridiculous serious accident stats for young drivers, I think you are going to look into other ways of doing stuff like we all have done. And that I think is where resistance and non-resistance comes from in the industry. What they're in this job for. Ian's thinking, oh no.
I know it's hard, isn't it, when you're thinking? Oh.
That's why I don't do it.
I've got a thought if you need time for yours to brew.
Absolutely.
Or percolate.
Percolate. Oh, there's a nice word.
No, it's from the north. He's not that posh.
Woo, get him. Proudly from the north.
Proudly from the north, yes.
Following on from what you were saying, Terry, though, because if we don't understand why the DVSA said, actually, we're looking for client-centered learning, and they called it their own thing, for all sorts of reasons they didn't want to or couldn't call it coaching, for all the sensible reasons, because you can't be hanging upside down from your seatbelt saying, what do you think you might do differently on approach to a bend? You got your safety critical, but the reasons that they brought the client-centered learning in as a structure was because of the research that started, well, it was 30 years ago. How many years ago was it?
Must be at least 40 now.
Must be.
It was 30 years ago when we started, so it must be 30, 40, 45 years ago.
Whenever those reports were, and it was one led to the next, and it's the Hermes, the Gadget, and the Merit, and whichever one came first. And I don't remember enough about them. I have read them all with difficulty. I did. But there were loads of bits of it that were really interesting, and the outcomes. So, and if you think about how our world is now outside of driver training, but we have the enforcement, the engineering, and lastly, the education. So the education was all those things like the speed awareness courses and those kind of things. It's education, and it's the public information programs that we've all seen, the clunk click every trip. It was those things that were going on that were part of the education. Our thing about education, yes, but the engineering of the cars and the road surfaces and all the rest of it, and it's all of those things. And the education was the last one, because it's very hard to change the industry and as it was, and that's why they had to go around it the back route to change, to bring in the client-centered learning, was because they know it makes a difference, and it's them as in people who understand humans and human behavior and learning, the Lisa Dawns of the world. They understand that stuff a deeper way than those of us that are driver trainers. So if we don't understand the reasons why, but this is where I feel like we get let down. In the industry, we're let down if we're not shown why we've got to do something or why those changes are important, then we're just going to struggle with it. We're just going to rebel against it. All of us do. It's human nature. I think I've just said a lot in very short amount of time and not really made sense with any of it. Has your thought percolated, Ian?
My thought has percolated, but it's percolated into a cup of coffee and a cup of tea. I don't know how that's happened.
That's brewing. It's because
So,
you.
yeah. The cup of coffee one was based on what Terry was saying about why we got into the job. I think I got into the job because I was foresightful enough to realise I was going to be made redundant in the near future. So that's why I got into the job. And I did what I taught the way I was taught to teach until I got fed up and bored of it. I loved the job, but I didn't enjoy delivering lessons.
I love.
Absolutely.
I love people. I hated the job.
Yeah, and then you discover a different way of doing it that puts the zing back into what you're doing. And that's what coaching did for me. It kept me in this profession, dare I say, rather than industry. It kept me in this profession up until right now. And I can't see myself doing anything else other than potentially stacking shelves or working in a prison library or something like that. But at the end of the day, I didn't have any noble intentions of being anything other than a driving instructor until I got fed up with the job. And certainly over the years, I've heard that from lots of different instructors I've worked with and spoken to about how the sparkle went out of the job. And we used to hear it quite often on the BTEC 4.
Yep.
The other thing, the cup of tea side of me percolation was, do either of you remember the workshops that the DVSA did when they introduced the standards check? I remember I got a call from one of the supervising examiners, the ODDITs, as they were at the time, who wanted me to get a group of ODDITs together in the locale and he'd deliver a presentation on the standards check. And the thing I remember about that presentation was, if you were a good instructor on Friday, you'll be a good instructor on Monday when you take your standards check. That message has since changed.
Yes.
For what?
Yeah. Basically saying.
Well, at the start of the Part 3 test, I don't know about nationally, but certainly all the examiners I work with are, I want to say, a client-centered lesson. This is your ADI Part 3 test of your ability to instruct now and to see you deliver a client-centered lesson.
There's a mixed message right there.
But it's movement.
It's definitely.
Do you want to pop off then while we and Fiona finish off? Are you okay?
Okay.
You and your movement.
Pop off or pop out.
Well, coffee is a stimulant. It will encourage peristalsis.
Easy.
That's a bit graphic.
But I think you're right, Mr. Ian. I think you're right in what you see on. So I know we've had a conversation, or many a conversation over a whiskey or seven over the years about why we're still here, and I love the way Fiona described how coaching and changed her. And I'm going to let you say it, Fiona, because it's your words. So just say what coaching did for you, what coaching was for you in the day.
It was the missing link.
The missing link. That was exactly the same. And I'm loads of instructors out there bored, didn't enjoy delivering, was going to leave the industry, going to go back to tennis coaching or something. And then I discovered coaching, and it kept me in here, and that was 15 years ago. So coaching is the only reason I'm still here in this. Yeah, exactly. And then I was having a chat again with a PDI this week. and we were talking about, I can't remember what we were talking about, but it came out anyway. And it's like we used to do with the traditional methods and all that kind of stuff. And I said to him, I said, I feel like going back to all my ex-students. I'm just giving them refunds because it's like, I used to do this. I used to talk people through the cockpit drill. I used to talk people through controls lessons. I used to have the syllabus ready for what I knew worked, and I didn't pay any attention to the person. And it's like, now I feel so guilty now about the 13 years previous where I'd been a great instructor. High pass rate, people enjoying their lessons. I was really good at spotting faults. And it's like, I just feel like giving the money back towards all those poor people.
I've done a Facebook thing. Guilty. It's a judge's hammer. I do feel so guilty for all of those.
What a crap service I was delivering.
Maybe a car fund, because I still put effort in.
Can I kind of put a counter view?
Yeah, blood.
No, we're enjoying our guilt.
But you feel guilty now. At the time, did you do your best? Did you do your best?
Because that was all I knew. Exactly, that was all I knew.
Why feel guilty about doing your best?
Because there was a much better way of doing it.
But you didn't know that at the time. And if you sat there and genuinely did your best, I don't think there's any reason to feel guilty. Otherwise, I wouldn't still be in the industry profession. Because there was a hell of a lot. I mean, I was employed full time as an instructor trainer, and I perpetrated this shit that we talked about. The detailed information, learning the detailed information and delivery of. And I don't feel guilty about it because I did my best to get that across in a sympathetic way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would I do it differently if I could travel back in time? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But it's the same kind of thing, the phrase poacher come gamekeeper. We've been the poachers. And now we're the advocates.
Yeah.
Because
that's just for Christmas though.
No, poachers for life, not just for Christmas.
No, the advocates. It's just for Christmas.
Advocates. Sorry.
Come on, get with the program, blood.
That was me being serious for a minute, man. I should have known better with you on the screen.
And there's me thinking it was a famous grouse. This was a conversation we were having before. They were talking about whiskey.
We should come along.
Yeah.
I beg your
I'll
pardon.
be needing the whole spittoon for myself.
There's too many lumps in it.
I don't.
Oh my God. There goes my lunch. Can't bother with that today.
Well, I didn't say beware of adult content at the beginning.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Never mind. We've got a couple of topics linked in here though, as in we did our journey thing, but do either of you do the same stuff you used to do, or is it a little bit different? I'm not just a driving instructor, and neither are you guys. So that could be an audit session that we do. And also, Terry, do you remember telling me it was one of my favorite bits about the difference between coaching and instruction, and just a really good way of you showing your, oh no, this sounds like a compliment, but
I showed my bits. What?
No, you used to. No, please don't. I don't know what the magnifier is anyway. Where is the magnifier on this? Anyway, do you remember you told me about it was a young girl and you said she was really nervous about doing the turn in the road? Oh.
What was it? Tell me now, I might remember. It might come back to me.
Then I told the whole story. You said something along the lines of she was really worried about doing the turn in the road. And you said, it's all right, I've got you sorted, I've got you covered. So you went down a road and you said, oh, sorry, it's dead end.
Yeah.
Do you want to finish it? Because I just thought it was brilliant, and I'm so envious, but I'm never going to tell you that. So envious because that is the purest form of coaching. It's just have a laugh, have a thing, and but you tell them, please, tell them.
Oh, Ellen, tell them.
Oh, ew, ew.
Ew, ew, ew. Yeah, she just didn't want it. She just felt really bad about, not bad, but and again, it's a hazy memory. I'm recycling here. But she was really nervous about it, really conscious of being in people's way. What car comes along. Well, let's do it a different time. And we drove off and I purposely went down a dead end. And I said, I've made a mistake. Sorry. I can remember the girl's face, but I can't remember her name.
Good.
And I said, it's, it's a dead end. It's my mistake. Totally my fault. Just turn the car around for me. And she did. Didn't think twice about it. And then we pulled up after. I said, what did you just do there? She went, what have I done wrong? There's nothing wrong, nothing at all. I said, just what activity have you just completed there? Oh, yeah, it's what, turn the car around. What, in the road? She went, oh, yeah. Again, hazy memory. I can't remember the reaction exactly, but it's like, oh my God, was that it? I went, yeah. It's not difficult. No. There's no one. Yeah. You can turn the car around, can't you? Yeah, I can. And yeah, it was. It was like, oh my God, it's such relief. Again, hazy memory. She might not used any of those words at all, but that was the gist of it.
I remember it better than either of you two do. Because
Yeah, it
it just made perfect sense in my head. And like I said, I was envious that you did it. I've probably done something similar. I'm going to pretend that I've done something similar.
You've done loads similar and loads better.
I just think it's just such a good idea. And that's the experiential learning thing. So do you need to explain in full detail? I'd like you to turn the car around using clutch control. Put the clutch down, put it into first, set the gas, find the biting point. And it's all of that stuff that we used to do.
It's the hidden learning, isn't it? Just linking it back. Give it back to the time. Shake the room. Eyes on form, sister.
A coaching ninja.
Oh, dear. Yeah, I won't go that far, but yeah. You know what? I'm just talking out loud here. I know we're still recording, but do you think maybe there's more to this one? We should do a part 2 next time.
Yeah.
And do a busting myths, like a subtitle.
I think something. We'll discuss it. But I think you're right. Busting myths.
Don't mean I've got to come up with the title for next one. And I might have a workshop coming up about busting coaching myths, but that's for a discussion not on the recording, because I wouldn't like to think I'm advertising my coaching courses in November about busting coaching myths at all. Look out for my Facebook page for the details. What?
So get that cough scene.
I'm not going to advertise my workshops like that.
No, I ain't gonna advertise your workshops coming up, Fiona.
Yeah, but I don't know when. Actually, I know I've got to do some links. I still want to do the other one. We've got a few.
It's been a while now. How long has this one gone for?
We've got to bust some myths.
Yeah. Beware misses.
We're going to do some busting.
Cloud busting.
Is that bad manners songs, is it?
We also need to, I think it would also be useful because, when people listen to this, if people don't know us, then who are we to talk about stuff? So what is it that we've done? What is it we do differently? Because I'm not a driving instructor anymore, really. Not.
Yeah.
I know
what you mean. Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, all right.
We need to, we do crouching tiger busting myths.
Coaching tiger.
Coaching tiger busting.
Busting myths. Okay.
Coaching tigers busting myths.
Okay. But busting, yeah.
I don't want to coach anymore, so I'm going to be.
Okay. All right. Because at what time did we start, by the way, the recording?
Well, I'll tell